I can't believe it, it's already season 6 of our Portugal farm life, and look who's come to visit. It's the sun. Winter in Portugal is definitely a lot better than it was in the UK for me. I'm not a big fan of winter really, but yeah, we have had a couple of weeks of rain, we've had a whole bunch of flooding, we've had all sorts of stuff. But for the last couple of days, it's just been absolutely glorious. And all of the sun beating down on the fields means that the grasses are starting to grow really nicely. We want the grasses to grow nice and big on those fields so that Joaquin can cut them down in the spring, bale them up and give them to his sheep for food during the summer months. But the places where I don't really want grass to grow are places like in our olive grove, in our vineyard, and also in the grassy areas around the farm. So for the last 5 years, I've been doing everything by hand with a hand mower. And as you can see, we've got quite a few acres of these big grassy areas. It doesn't look too bad right now, but imagine in the summertime when this all gets dry and really tall, it becomes a fire risk. And sometimes it feels like I'm cutting the grass every 2 days when it comes to the springtime, you know. So yeah, big job, and I found a solution for it. Welcome to the future. This is a robotic lawnmower, and it's by a company called FJ Dynamics, and it's called the FR4000. This isn't a sponsored video, but FJ Dynamics gave me this lawnmower for free. They asked me if I could use it around the farm, give them some feedback on how it works, and also feature it in one of my videos. And after 5 years of cutting the grass by hand, I couldn't say no to this opportunity. I never get tired of watching this thing go out on its own and start its mission around the farm. How cool is this? So let me just show you how this thing works. This on the top here, I believe, is like the antenna that obviously connects to GPS and to the base station. Underneath we've got some cameras. I believe this is the RGB camera over here, and then we have some stereo cameras. Stereo cameras kind of operate like your eyes, so they give you depth of field. RGB obviously gives you color. We've got a little sensitive bumper around the front here, so that if it bumps into any objects, it'll know. Obviously the camera is going to stop it from bumping into things, but this is like a fail-safe. And then we have 2 very grippy wheels at the back to help propel it along, and another 2 little wheels underneath on the front that can rotate in 360 degrees. Now I'm one of these weirdos that actually enjoys mowing grass. I find it kind of soothing, you know, you just kind of put on some headphones and you just get to it. A couple of hours go by, everything looks amazing around the house and the property, and yeah, I like that job. But one of the things I didn't enjoy doing with the mower was the vineyards. It's just these long, boring rows. You go up and down, up and down, up and down. And once you've done one, you move on to another one that's identical, and then another one that's identical. And it's kind of a boring job. And at the moment, we've got a lot of chamomile growing. Now, it doesn't look too bad, but the thing about chamomile is it gets quite sticky when it gets bigger. And it tends to like block up the lawnmower, and then obviously we get weeds coming through. And we do have to keep all of these areas clean and clear. And all around the farm, we have huge areas that are going to be covered in different wildflowers and chamomile and things like that. And I mean, we've got these little yellow ones coming up here. So don't worry, we are going to have lots of stuff left over for the bees. So I was very skeptical when I first got this, because I'm used to having a really big push mower, something with a big steel blade and a 250cc motor that spins around and can pretty much take care of everything and just smash it up. And now we've got this little mower here. It's made out of, it's got like a plastic shell. It feels like quite high quality plastic, but you know, it's quite light. It only has 2 wheels at the back. I would have expected maybe it would need 4-wheel drive or something to deal with stuff. And when you lift it up and you look underneath, it's got a round disc with what look like razor blades. Obviously you can change these blades quite easily, but you know, in comparison to a big steel blade, I was thinking, wow, this thing's not going to be able to keep up with cutting the grass. But I've been pleasantly surprised with just how well this has been coping with every single mowing task I've given it so far. So the lawnmower is connected to Wi-Fi. It comes with an app that you have on your phone here, so you can see exactly what the lawnmower is doing at any point in time. You can check the level of charge, you can send it back to the charging station, you can schedule it to do jobs, you can send it to different areas that you've set up and say, I want you to mow this now, I want you to mow this on Monday, I want you to mow this on a schedule. It's pretty cool. Hello, Gina.
Hello.
Gina's in the process of trimming the vine, so I've got the task of looking after all of the grasses and stuff, and once a year Gina needs to snippity snip.
2 rows a day, that's what I do.
2 rows a day?
Otherwise I just get onto like the 3rd and 4th row and I'm like, no more! So if I do 2 a day, then I concentrate properly on it.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing some figs as well.
Oh, just that bit there because I couldn't get under to the vines.
Yeah, well, it's a nice day to do it.
That's lovely.
Now, the very first time that you set up the mower, you've basically got to use your phone as a remote control. It's almost got like, it's like joysticks, where you can go forward, back, left and right, and you've got to trace the outline of the cutting area. And that's all you have to do to set it up. And it's pretty easy. You just drive it around as if you were riding a little remote control car or something. Very straightforward. And now I just walk to the end of the vineyard, follow the outline and come all the way back again. So this is pretty much the longest part, is just tracing the outline. And it's quite easy to do with this phone as a remote control. It uses Bluetooth, so you have to be within a certain amount of distance. But Bluetooth has quite a long range. And then after that, you're ready to mow. So now that I've set this up on the app, I can open it up, I can click Start, I can select the new zone that I've just created, which is Vineyard Row 6. And click Next. I can set the height of the blades, the speed of the mow and all of that stuff. And then I can click Start Now. And watch this. So it gives you a little bit of a warning sign. Say what's happening. Oh, let's move this tripod out the way. And look at that. It's dealing with some quite tall stuff. This is actually not the worst of it. It's going to get pretty hairy as we go down through here. And if you look on the back here, it's definitely cutting. It's very impressive. Now, as you can see, we've got quite tall chamomile flowers. The lawnmower is going through it quite well. It seems to be dealing with everything fine, but they are like a very sticky plant. So I'm going to be interested to see just how it copes and manages with all of this. It's really not designed to go through tall stuff like this. I mean, we are sending it through some big weeds and things like that. And yeah, it actually gets a lot worse as we go down in that direction. Now, a robotic mower is supposed to be for lawn maintenance. It's not meant to sort of pioneer and break through a whole bunch of weeds and flowers and things like that. I'm obviously putting it through a pretty extreme test here in the vineyard, because something like this is really designed for a residential lawn. It's designed for somewhere where you've already cut the grass and you just want to set this thing up so that it can maintain the cut area. And I guess this is why FJ Dynamics gave it to me, because they know that I've got some pretty challenging stuff on the farm here, and if the mower can cope with this kind of stuff, it's definitely going to be 100% fine on most people's gardens. So it's probably pretty obvious, but this is using a battery. It's got a lithium battery inside. I believe it has a runtime of around 180 minutes, which is a pretty long time, 3 hours. Obviously that's going to change depending on what speed settings and blade settings you use, but for our purposes it's been working perfectly fine. And if the mower senses that it is getting low on battery, then what it'll do once it gets to around 10% is it'll go back to the battery charger on its own, plug in, charge up in a couple of hours. I'm not sure exactly how long it takes to go to full. I think it's about 1.5 to 2 hours, and then come back and carry on the task it was doing. And for me, this has been an absolute game changer, as you can imagine, because now instead of me manually going up and down all of these rows like I used to, I set this thing up once and it's ready to go. We bought this farm in December 2019, so we've been here for 5 years, going on 6 years now, and one of the most noticeable changes that you see on a farm, apart from the 4 seasons, is the level of the water. Now, last year the water dropped to the lowest level that I've seen since we've been here in half a decade. I was a little bit worried about that, but everything's recovering quite nicely. The high water mark is usually where this pole is over here. So at the bottom of this pole is the highest that it's ever been, and the regular sort of annual high water mark is probably about 0.5 meter to 1 meter lower than what the water currently is. So I'm quite happy to see that, as we're about to go into a very hot Central Portuguese summer, and we're going to need as much water as possible. Hello, sheep. Such a soothing sound. We can also hear in the background we've got some baby lambs. Some new lambs for the new season coming up. And we also have some very inquisitive ones. Look at this guy over here. Hello, sheepy sheeps. Right, let's go and have a look at how the robot mower is doing. I've left it on its own. I've sent it into quite challenging stuff. So, yeah, let's find out. Well, by the looks of it, it's still going strong, and it hasn't been stuck anywhere or anything like that. You can actually check on the app. The app will tell you if there's any problems or faults or anything. And so far, so good. I don't know if you can see, it's quite difficult to see with a little camera like this, but I don't know if you can see the little strip in the center that it's done. It's kind of started there and it'll push towards the outside. Yeah, again, when I first got this mower, I wasn't expecting much, you know. I'm used to having like the big blades of a 250cc lawnmower hammering away at like weeds and flowers and things like that. And I know from experience that even a big mower like that can get bogged down and stuck in little flowers and things like chamomile because they get so sticky. And again, this thing just seems to be cutting through with ease. it does have those little razor blades, so I think that probably does help. 5 years ago when I first moved here, this was a tiny little shrub in our vineyard. I mean, it was like probably up to my knee, and it's basically a cork oak. So it's a type of oak tree, and they are a protected species, so you can't actually cut them down. And it is in the middle of my vineyard, which is a little bit of a pain, but I actually love this tree, and I'm so surprised. I mean, look how big this is already. It's absolutely massive in 5 years. I always thought that oaks and things like that were very slow growing, but obviously not. And actually it's a good thing that we have this oak tree, because our vines are really suffering in the summer heat here, which is kind of surprising because this is a Portuguese variety of vines that's probably been here for a very long time, and they're starting to struggle with the kind of temperatures that we're getting. Now these still need to be pruned, and you know, we do cut them every single year, but they really are struggling, and a lot of them are dying, which is a real shame. It's not just happening to our vineyard, it's also happening to our neighbor Joaquin, who's a very experienced farmer who has his farm just on the side here. And he has a big vineyard, and he's also struggling with this issue. Joaquin's been telling me it's definitely hotter in the summer than it used to be back in the days. And as a result, obviously the vines are struggling. Now, one way around it would be for us to irrigate. And we do actually have this well over here. It's a big agricultural well. It has a pump house. And I could set up some kind of irrigation here in the vineyard to try and give them a little bit more water during the summer months. Water is obviously a precious resource, especially in the summertime, and these are very old vines. They've been here for a very long time. They actually do need to be replaced. So I don't think there's any point in us setting up irrigation at this point until we've got some new vines in the ground. And I don't drink wine, so it's kind of pointless. If anything, I should be growing wheat, barley, hops and water. And making my own wheat beers and lagers and stuff like that. In fact, I think that's a really good idea. Oh, look at this. I don't know if you can hear. The mower's going through some really thick stuff here. And it's going quite slowly. It's obviously recognizing that it's getting a bit stuck. And I can hear that there's some grass that's kind of stuck in the blade a little bit. But it's still doing it. I've got it set to a cut depth of 2 centimeters or 20 millimeters. So it's quite a low cut depth, especially when you're dealing with like really tall stuff right next to the mower. But yeah, I'm really impressed. It's managing to get the job done. I've been going on a lot about water on the farm, and this year we've had more water in this well than I've ever seen in half a decade of living here. As we can see how close it is to the very top of the well here. It's way surpassing the brick. We have this grey brick that's usually about there, maybe I would say a meter lower than this, and that's the high water mark. And right now, look where it is, and we can actually see the sort of scum line there of how high it actually got along the back there. And if I take you back a little bit, it's actually almost was at ground level. So almost ground level that the well went all the way up to. And the reason why I didn't reach ground level was because just in the corner over here, it's hard to see on the camera screen, but down here somewhere we have a little drain pipe. It's an overflow to stop the well from getting too tall or too high. And that basically overflows through the field here, and it's supposed to go into a gutter that goes along the road in the front here. But it hasn't been doing that for a few years, and we've had some flooding. So I feel quite confident that we can go into the summer. We don't have to worry about our water levels, and you know, half a decade of living here, we've never run out of water. I feel quite safe and secure knowing that, you know, this farm is fully off-grid when it comes to water. It's got tons of it, and yeah, that makes me feel quite secure for the future. So the robot mower is well, in that direction over there. I'm not sure if you can see it in the distance. I can see it. Maybe this little camera can't. It's still tackling that row over there. It's basically done our whole garden. So last week we sent it in here and it did all of the garden spaces all around the house. I've had it do all of this section on the outside here, outside of the fence line. I've actually had it go all the way down in that direction over there, where we've got some paths that lead all the way down to the bottom fields. And it's done all of those for me too. And then of course it's done this little rectangular lawn piece that's just to the front of the house here, or to the back of the house. What an absolute pleasure. So while I'm out here, I thought I'd show you this little thing over here. This little antenna over here is called an RTK antenna. And basically what that is a very advanced GPS antenna. It's got a little aerial that's sticking out the bottom there. That aerial uses radio to communicate with the lawnmower, which is all the way on that side of the property over there. I believe it's got a range of up to 1 kilometer, which is pretty cool. Now, my understanding of how it works is this has a GPS receiver in it, and so does the lawnmower. And Where normal GPS has accuracy of sort of 1 meter, but usually a lot more than that, up to about 8 meters, this has much better accuracy because it uses 2 different GPS sources and overlays them with each other to get the accuracy down to 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter, which is pretty damn amazing. And all you need for it to work is a power cable. So the power cable here is going into the shed. We have another power cable that's coming out of the shed. I know it's not the most attractive setup here. This was supposed to be temporary, but I've just left it here for a while. And that other power cable goes to the charging station. We can see it's got a little sun hood. I put it on this side because it gets a lot of shelter. It's quite muddy at the moment because we've had a lot of rain. I don't have any guttering up here, so the rain's been thundering down on here and splashing all the mud about. But I mean, you know, this has been a really good test of just how durable this thing is. And again, once it runs out of battery power, it'll ride itself all the way back to the charging station, plug itself in. Once it's charged back up again, and you can set the levels, it returns to home or leaves the charging bay, it'll go back out and continue with its work. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case today because we're outside of my garden area. So this is like the main farmhouse, and we've got the main garden area here, and we obviously have this big fence for the dogs. And so because of that, the lawnmower can't get outside the garden area. I have to manually bring it outside there, which is a little bit of a pain. But I mean, if that's the only thing that I have to worry about, it's not too bad. As we can see on the other side of the fence, this is where we have the rest of the vineyards, where currently the robot mower should be cutting the grass. Let's see, where is it? Oh, okay, it is all the way down there. For a second there, I couldn't see it. So here we go. Robo mower's all the way at the end. That's like the most tricky section there with like the tallest grass. And he's heading on back up here. So it's pretty cool. From the app I can see it's 91% way through the job, and we can see where the lawnmower is. I can pinch zoom into it. Well, I've only got one hand at the moment, so it's a bit difficult. I can see the area where it's currently cutting. I can see all the other areas where I've set up tasks for it to cut. There's the road going all the way down to the bottom field. We've got the gardens around the house, and then we have the vineyards up in the front. Okay, that's the first time it's been stuck so far. It just got stuck. Unfortunately, I'm on the other side of the fence here, so I can't get to it to show you a closer up zoom, but it got a little bit stuck. It made a beeping sound, it reversed itself out of the situation and started cutting the grass again, and it's just done it again. And that's not the fault of the mower, that's actually my fault, because I was filming, I was in quite a rush when I was drawing the sort of outline of this row here. And because of that, I think on this side here, I think I might have just gone a little bit too over and into where the ridge or the bump is, where the vines are growing. So yeah, it's not a fault of the mower that it's done that. And it's actually recovering quite well. Even though it's going there, it's getting stuck, it's recognizing the issue, it's reversing, and it's going back around it again. It is figuring it out. It's actually pushing its way straight through there. And it doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. And there's a nice big pot it's cutting. Look at that. Wow. Okay. Good job, mower. Jeez, wasn't expecting it to cut through that. Okay, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. It just went over a really big piece of wood that Gina dropped on the ground from her pruning. And hopefully the blades are going to be okay. It still seems to be cutting all right, but that was a little bit of a surprise. Gina, did you hear that? That was pretty wild. I think one of the logs fell off your wheelbarrow.
I think it will just be a bit of broom, maybe.
It's quite a big log, I just saw it, but yeah. I think it'll be all right. It sounds all right. It's a good test of the mower anyway. And this is what makes it all worthwhile.
What, a cup of tea? A cup of tea, some nuts, and sitting in the sunshine.
Exactly.
These nuts.
These nuts. Well, which nuts were you talking about? Eddie's. Yeah.
Just making sure everyone was aware of which nuts I was talking about.
Nut 1 and nut 2. Yeah, unfortunately our cat Boykie, he's not so well, he just hasn't been well for a long time.
Well, he hasn't been right since Nanook passed away, our other cat, and then he's obviously 15 years old, so he's quite an old boy for a Mancoon as well. And Boykie when he gets ill, he tends to have urine infections.
Yeah,
And this
or
is-
bladder infections, yeah.
And this has been the mother of all
Yeah,
infections. So he's had antibiotics and
shame.
anti-inflammatories, but he just wants to be like here with us.
Yeah.
And he's happy. And if we're anywhere else, then he's unhappy.
Screaming the house down.
Yeah.
Shame, man. And unfortunately, these dogs, they don't get on very well with him.
They tolerate him.
Yeah. But
With Dog, he used to
Yeah.
snuggle with Dog, and these two aren't going to snuggle with him.
And, well, the dogs tolerate the cat while we're around, but I suspect that when we're not around, they don't tolerate the cat. And that's the problem, you know. And obviously for him, he's very small in comparison, and he's old, and he's very nervous now. And, yeah, he's struggling. So he's got, like, some vertebrae up on the top here that they've got, like, bone spurs. And those bone spurs mean that he's got no mobility, and it's probably pinching on the nerves. And so we think that's why he's been crying so much. At first, we thought it was like a bladder infection. He did actually have blood in his urine, which was quite concerning, but now he doesn't, and he's still, you know, crying a lot and everything. And so the vet yesterday said that it's probably pain in his spine. As you can see now, he looks quite relaxed and quite happy because we've got him on some anti-inflammatories.
Yeah, he's on anti-inflammatories, and it's sunny. He's like his mum. He doesn't like the cold, horrible weather.
Yeah, well, exactly.
He likes being out in the sunshine with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we just have to be soft and gentle with him because he's an old man.
Yeah, exactly. You hear that, Gina? You have to be soft and gentle with old men.
Only furry ones.
And look at this. We've got a highly stressed dog over here. Look how stressed out she is. Completely stressed. Hello, my girl. Mimosa. You know, we have pets with all sorts of problems. She had leishmaniasis, which is a terrible disease that probably will stay with her for her life, but it's all under control now. She's got dodgy hips, and she's going to have to take some kind of thing called Librela, which is an injection that we used to give dog. Then we got Boyke over here that's probably going to be on anti-inflammatories for life. I think the only one who isn't in any issue is Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from his huge knackers, which might be an issue.
Yeah. But, well, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's alright. He's a gentle giant. But, and then there's me and you. We're getting old.
Yeah.
It's like
Speak for yourself.
an OAP home.
Right, so the mower's finished its job. It obviously can't get through the fence, so it's just parked itself over here. And that's pretty much where we started, and it's quite difficult to tell. I mean, I'm on the other side of the fence, but I can see with my eyes that it has actually cut all of this. This was all covered in white flowers. There's a couple of little white flowers, but they were obviously lower than the 2 centimeter mark. So it's done a good job. Thank you, Robo Mower. The only thing left to teach that robot mower is how to bring me beer, ice cold beer. And then I think I can give it 6 stars.
Are you gonna 6 stars?
Yeah.
What about if it gets it out of the fridge? Will it then be a 10 out of 10?
I'm not sure, because I did actually see it going over a couple of Eddie's poos earlier, and I don't know if I want it anywhere near the fridge.
How's it gonna get the beer?
Yeah.
There's some issues you need to iron out.
Well, maybe it needs to have like a little cooler box that it tows behind it on the, you know, on like a little trailer, and it can bring me a couple of ice cold beers, you know, as I'm you know, making sure that it's.
As you're sitting there watching it.
Yeah. You know, as I'm making videos about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is where we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. It's
Dinner
lunchtime.
time. Lunchtime, dinner time. What time is it?
Well, I would call it lunchtime. But Gina has all sorts of different words for eating food. She calls things tea, dinner, supper. She has like different words for, like, she'll have dinner when I would have supper, or she'll have tea when I'm supposed to, when I would have dinner.
Breakfast.
Yeah.
But then I will call it lunch. But why do you have dinner ladies if it's lunchtime? Surely they should be called lunch ladies.
I don't know what a dinner lady is. I
dinner ladies
went to
are
school in South Africa.
A dinner lady's someone in the playground that makes sure the kids aren't stabbing each other.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, just make sure they're playing
Oh, okay.
and being nice to each other.
Yeah.
And then you've got evening meal, which is tea time,
Okay.
but not to be mistaken with tea.
It's not tea time.
But it's tea time.
Yeah,
Like 5 o'clock, tea time.
we've been in each other's presences for the last, since 2004?
You know, like 21 years.
21 years, yeah. And I still have no idea what Gina's talking about when she goes, "It's time for tea," or it's supper time, or it's dinner time, or yeah.
Well, do you know what? Every meal really is dinner time, and then the only one that's different is breakfast.
Yeah.
Breakfast and then other times of the day.
Yeah.
Eat when you're hungry.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note,
Yeah, where did that come from?
on that note, goodbye, farewell, see you next time.
Let us know what time your feed times are.
Yeah. Okay. Ciao. Bye.